What's good, Travel Hour family? We are back. I'm Jock, and I have my co-host with me,
What's good? This is Matt.
and we are the Travel Hour. So today we've got an action-packed episode. We're going to talk a little bit about our trip to Egypt and how
Yeah,
that went. Egypt was a vibe, and I really enjoyed it. MP, I know you had a great time as well, but just tell us why you enjoy Egypt so much.
man, let me tell you, Egypt was definitely a vibe. Egypt is definitely a place that I recommend that you go. Egypt is also a place, if you are like Jock and I, who are members of the greatest fraternity on the planet, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, is a place that you definitely need to go to. Egypt was, man, it's like we can sit here and talk about it, but that still does not do it justice, right? Just the vastness of it, the architecture, the history, all of that is what made Egypt a dope trip for sure. And not to mention, uh, even what we paid to get there, it made it even more dope. So,
Yeah, definitely looking back, we got to steal.
yes,
To go
yes,
to
sir.
Egypt, the just go there, be able to make it, really just do some top notch things while we were there, and really enjoy the experience. So that's one of the things that I definitely did enjoy. And looking back, it all makes sense, right? And so I think that's super important as we move forward, looking at this travel thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, during today we'll definitely talk about not only just Egypt, but everybody want to know how much it costs, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna break down the price and let y'all know like how much we paid to get to Egypt, what we spent on lodging, how much did we spend while we were there, because it was definitely a great experience, but also we were challenged.
Very much so. So I would, yeah, stay tuned. If you want to hear the good, the bad, all of it, this gonna be the episode where we tell you tell you our full experience going to Egypt. Right? It was a great trip, but we definitely had some hiccups.
Definitely
So.
going behind the scenes this episode, and I think that's the beauty about it. I was watching someone's story, and I cannot remember his name. And he was on a trip, and he was going through some stuff, and just like, hey, like this is the ugly side of travel that a lot of folks tend to forget. We get caught up in the
Mhm.
Instagram reels and how beautiful this was. We won't talk about the journey so much. And so that's one thing to keep in mind as well, is that travel is never going to be perfect. If things do go as they are planned, great. Thank God.
Right.
If they don't go as planned, be ready to pivot.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing. Just understand things happen, things change, and there's going to be things outside of your control, and be ready to pivot. So that would
Yeah,
be my biggest takeaway as we get ready to talk about Egypt.
for
But
sure.
I'm not going to hold our guest up too much longer, but I did want to take a chance to tap in and check in because, forgive me, as my grandmother would say, we ain't sleep together last night, so let me just go back and make sure that we check in and see how everybody is doing. MP, talk to me how you doing today. How's life been going on this past week?
Man, life is good. Life is constantly on the up and up. I can't complain. One day, one day, one. I can't even talk today. I'm so happy. One day at a time is
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
trying to say. But yeah, life is definitely good. Definitely, keep moving forward, keep progressing, keep. I'm just out here trying to build a great future for myself and secure the bag while doing so, while carving out time to actually live and have experiences. So yeah, life is good. How's everything going your way, Jack?
Everything is going good. I got a quick question for you. How's the weather out there? Has it gotten back to the usual ways, or what's going on out there?
We went outside yesterday. Say, ooh, it feel like California outside. And so yesterday and today we had great weather in the 70s. Tomorrow we got rain again. So, I'm hoping that this is our last little like stint of rain because we have gotten hammered this year. Um, and that we can start getting back into warmer weather. Because I'm tired of the rain and it being cold, and I want to turn my heat off.
Understood. Understood. Well, global warming is real, but we just hope that I know California has some dry summers, especially Southern California. So I know that water will go a long way with
See,
their.
that's the thing, though, right? Because we won't really know the how much everything benefited us until the snow melts. All the water that's raining from the sky, look from the ceiling, from the sky, that's just going draining right into the ocean. We don't get that.
What?
Yeah. So we don't get that groundwater. We gotta wait till the snow melt in the mountains, and that's where all our water come from.
That natural spring water coming down from the Himalayas.
It ain't natural or spring by the time it get down to the city though.
So they got a little LA County in it,
A
huh?
little tainted.
So they got a little tang to it, like some Tampico.
Right, right. Some yayo, that's what's in that water.
Ooh, lordy, lordy. but yeah, definitely things are going good this way. It's just been a real good week as well, just accomplishing and knocking out a lot of things. You never feel more accomplished when, well, at least for me, when I start knocking out things on that to-do list or that's on that whiteboard. And so this week has really just been the week to really just start knocking stuff out and getting things done. And so I'm just glad to have that weight up off my shoulder. I'm able to breathe a little bit.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and hop into it and talk about this Egypt trip. And so, as we want to set the stage, I want to set the stage before we hop into it. Is that we had an opportunity to go to Egypt with Next Level, and I remember getting the email, and I believe like we're all like our group chat went up and was like, "Yo, like Next Level's going to Egypt, and the cost is affordable, and we got time. We got time. So what's up?" MP, I don't know like who was more excited, but I definitely remember getting that initial message just being like, yo, like this is it.
Yes, sir. And I think before we even go any further, I think we need to probably set the stage as like the time frame as to when this is and why we had so much time.
So this was during the midst of the pandemic, right? So we're talking about 2 years ago. And almost even longer than that, because when we got the news about the trip, it was still like
2019.
Yeah, 2019, and the trip was supposed to take place in 2020.
2020. Sorry, we went in
2020,
2021.
and the trip was supposed to take place in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was Next Level's like first big trip during the pandemic. Because I remember when we were on the trip, they talked about, hey, like we were in Thailand and we got the word like, yeah, it's time to go. They about to shut the airports down. And so a lot of them had to like scramble, get back to the States, but they did, they made it safely. And so here they were, hey, now one thing you might remember is that during the pandemic, we went through like these phases, right? Where it'd be an outbreak and then everything shut down for a few months and then we get back outside.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd go in and out of those things, right? And so we're coming into it where that last fall was crazy. Like we had that huge surge, and then we were getting ready to see how things were going to happen going into that spring. And so we were able to make the trip. Everybody that signed up to go on the trip with us did not make it though, because of different related COVID issues and things like that. And so this was kind of where we were at during that time, which is crazy talking about it now, 2 years later, because things were just so different. So yeah, the world was just like opening back up, and I know things were extremely different during that time. As you can remember, there were things as far as like getting COVID tests to travel, temperature checks were still a thing, hand sanitizer was everywhere, and so this time was just different in many different ways. MP, did I miss anything about setting the stage?
I don't think you did. I think you hit everything on the head with all the testing requirements, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. Because at the time you had to test to leave the U.S. and then you had to test to get back into the U.S. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely a different time in travel, right? And most of us who are listening who have traveled and did travel throughout the pandemic, for whatever reasons it might have been, we know, right, that traveling wasn't. It was tedious. Let me say that. I guess that's for the best of the words, right? Because you had to make sure you had proper documents. You had to make sure you got your COVID test between 48 hours to 72 hours before your departure or your return. And so a lot of that was tedious, right? I think, leading up to that trip, I took about 3 COVID tests to make sure that I would get my test results back in time, right? Because I didn't want one to take it because we flew out on a Tuesday. So that kind of was something we had to maneuver around anyway, right? Because that's like not the best day to fly out when you got to do a whole bunch of testing. When a lot of places are closed Sunday, and if you go Monday, you might not get it in time, and maybe even Saturday it might time out by Tuesday. But we all navigated that, and I think I took about two. I took because you can get COVID tests for free here in LA, and probably a lot of other places. And so we were able to. I was able to, you know, go hit. I think I hit the COVID test site over at Long Beach City, the community college, I had the Walgreens, and then I went to CVS, right? And so I was determined to go on this trip because I was going stir crazy because it was just like, yo, ain't been nowhere. And so, yeah, man. So, yeah, you definitely hit everything.
Yeah, and I think that was just a much different time. Like we still had to get like attestation forms filled out for both countries, right? And you just walking around with a folder just full of docs, like what you need, which one you need. Like I got this, and they got to check. Even like the boarding times with the flights took forever because they're checking like multiple documents for every single passenger. And if you're not clear, like they don't your boarding pass won't even scan. So it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it was a much different time. There was a lot of things and variables outside of our control that we had to navigate into Panini, right? And so it really like I'm appreciative now of the freedom we do have to move around, and things like that.
For
It's
sure.
thank God. And so, what's up, man?
So I was just looking. I was thinking that was also around the time where they had just rolled out the COVID vaccines. I had to look at my COVID card and like figure out that date. And it's like that was really the only reason why I got that vaccine because I knew I was going to Egypt and I want nothing to stop me. But I, it was around that time too. So that was another added layer to travel was the COVID vaccine.
And what's crazy about that too is like when we were traveling, we went and got because we went and got ours around the same time, and so
Yeah.
like, cool, we're gonna be good. But nobody wanted to see the vaccination card. Like everybody wanted to see that negative test within the last 72 hours.
Right. Right.
And so that was the crazy part about it. But we made it. We made it. We got over there. But I know a lot of people want to know about, the bag, how much you spend to go to Egypt, right? Because I think when you say these things like, hey, like I went to Egypt, people are like, dang, like how much you spend to go over there? And I will say that one of the benefits of the pandemic was that we were able to travel. MP, how much do you pay for your flight and who'd you fly with?
So I flew with Delta. I flew with Delta, left LA. So Delta from LA to Atlanta, and then KLM from Atlanta to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Cairo, and then we flew KLM from Cairo to France. Yeah, and then from France to LA, I did Air France. So yeah, they're all Delta partners. I booked through Delta.
Yeah, and so we had similar flights. I know I was on Delta going there and then Air France coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And so going there, I think we both connected in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Atlanta. So we on the trip, right? And so we both are connected in Atlanta. We on the same international flight, leaving out Atlanta overnight to go to Amsterdam. And so, what was that experience like?
Man, let me tell you something. So, mind you, I'm still in full swing of my semester, and so I'm trying to do multiple things at once. I got to Atlanta a little early, a couple of hours before Jock got there. So I'm there, I'm sitting in a little food court area trying to do homework. Then Jock got in. I was like, "Yo, let's hit up the Sky Lounge." The Sky Club Lounge. So we did that. Mind you, I'm still, on on a class, just like tuning in or whatever, listening in. Um, got to the Sky Lounge, man, we had a time last night.
They should have never let us in.
They should have never let us in that Sky Lounge. Because if you don't know, when you go into the Sky Lounge, you do have access to the food that they have there. which is complimentary, and the alcohol, which is also complimentary, right? For the well liquor. And if you want to get like a fancy cocktail, you can either pay for it with your money or with your Delta points. But we took advantage of the bar, and the bartender was pretty dope. She was hella cool. And so we we were having so much fun, just tasting the different, drinks or whatever. And didn't realize that we had drunk a lot. We drank so much, and we didn't drink a lot. We weren't like drunk or belligerent or anything like that. But were very well ready to get on the flight and to take a nap. Um, but the thing is, so I flew in, we was in Concourse E, I think, but we went to the international terminal, which is Concourse F. And so we in there having a good time, drinking, just preparing ourselves for vacation, right? You want to start how you want to finish. And
Mhm.
so doing it, we look up like, oh yeah, it's time to head to the gate. Listen, we made it to the gate just when I say just in time. Because we got there like, yeah, we've been calling y'all. We was about to close the door. I was like, you know, turns out, when you go on an international flight, the door closes an hour before instead of 30 minutes before, right? And so I'm like, we got time, just don't, it's not gonna close, whatever. We get there, we the last ones, literally, last people, the last two getting on the flight. Everybody else boarded, buckled in and everything else. All we could do was say, whew, we made it.
Right. And everybody looking at us like they ready to push back. They mad. Like, this is what we was waiting for.
It's the only time I'm late is when I don't show up. So y'all pipe down, pipe down.
Hmm.
We made it. Now the flight can leave. But yeah, so the Sky Lounge was definitely like a highlight of like the pre-trip, right? The pre-departure experience. So if you have not taken advantage of any of the Sky Lounges or Delta's Sky Lounge or any of the airlines lounges, I would encourage you to do that because it gives you time to not necessarily have to just sit out and just wait, but you can go to the lounge and you can eat, you can partake in drinks. Some lounges have like places you can freshen up, you can take a shower,
Hmm.
all those things, right? And so they're very beneficial when it comes to traveling, especially when you have long flights and you get ready to be on a plane for 8, 9, 10 hours. It's good to be able to come, and they got comfortable seating, so it's good
Yeah.
to be able to come and relax before you get on that flight. Just don't have too many drinks and possibly miss your flight like we did. But we did miss it. So, that's what's up.
Because they also have plenty of drinks on the flight for
Let me,
international.
let me tell you something. You would have thought our flight attendant was a bartender. Talking about somebody ringing that ding. Can you bring can you bring me another drink? I'm like, dang. But it was definitely yeah. The pre-departure experience was pretty smooth. So I would say it was smooth. Had a minor hiccup. All of our flights got into Atlanta when they were supposed to arrive. We
Mhm.
left Atlanta when we were supposed to leave. And the flight for the most part was good. I mean, I believe probably slept the whole way because the flight left at like Atlanta like 10 o'clock at night,
Mhm.
and it was like an 8 hour flight to Amsterdam. So I pretty much slept the whole way. The flight wasn't full, so everybody can kind of get their own row and stretch out, whatever you wanted to do. Man, don't we miss COVID times when it comes to flying?
The good old
Man,
days.
the good old days, right? Everybody could get their own row, or at least the middle row wasn't taken. And then at the time, a lot of airlines weren't putting people in the middle seat,
Mhm.
just for safety precautions. But yeah, so the flight was good. The meals were decent on the flight over to Amsterdam. Um, yeah, so we got to Amsterdam, and that was a whole nother experience. It wasn't bad, but we had kind of prepared to, because we had a 6 hour layover in Amsterdam, so we kind of prepared to go from Atlanta, land in Amsterdam, find a lounge there, be able to shower, change our clothes, freshen up, just because we've been on the flight for the last 8 hours. Got there, when I tell you everything was closed, everything was closed.
Everything.
Everything, everything,
Everything.
everything was closed because of COVID, right? And the few lounges that they had, they were already, limited capacity, not letting a lot of people in. And so we were not able to, find a lounge, freshen up like we wanted to. So also because of COVID, and we had that 6 hour layover, we weren't at that time. Amsterdam was not letting people who had layovers to leave the airport and to go into the city, and so we just had to sit in Amsterdam for 6 hours.
Hmm. Let all that just marinate. Just all that travel just marinate on.
Right, all that travel just marinate. Like, yeah. So it was a long 6 hours. The only thing we could find to eat was McDonald's. Flew all the way to Amsterdam just to have some McDonald's.
And it was like morning time. It was daytime. So I'm like, oh, I'm about to give me like a little McGriddle. Like, nah, that menu was remixed. Like,
That menu was pre-made. Look, you ordered, you got your burger, you got your Big Mac because they had them ready to go.
like even the breakfast joint, like you ain't get like a hash brown. Like they ain't served them. Like they gave you like a muffin as a side. I'm like, bruh. It was different though. The menu was very different. Like they had croissants and stuff like that, just like
Yeah,
croissants, no meat on it, just croissants as a side as well with your breakfast meal. So it was different. That was very different.
yeah,
Um, but I do know a lot of the restaurants and things was closed. But what's crazy is that we did meet somebody from the States that was actually traveling to Egypt too, right? So
yep,
MP, talk about that a little bit.
yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, he was on our flight too from Atlanta to Amsterdam. Yeah, his name is slipping me right now, but definitely met one of the homies. Now, he was flying. I think he was from Alabama somewhere. Flying to and he was going to Egypt as a solo trip. Met and then just started chopping it up and found out that we all came from similar areas. And we're going to the same destination. And from there, just kind of that helped make the 6 hours pass because we just able to sit there and to chop it up and talk about what we were planning to do once we got into the city, all into Cairo. We would, just what some things that we want to see, what our expectations were, what we're looking for, what we're looking to get out of this trip, all of that. So it was definitely cool, and that's one of the good things about travel, right? You hardly ever meet a stranger, right? You can go not knowing anybody and then meet some people who you hit it off with and, or become, good acquaintances, good friends, whatever. And just like this experience here, yeah, we, were able to meet somebody new, another black man traveling to going to see the world, right? And so that was definitely a great experience. Yeah, that was a great experience. Matter of fact, we had the same flight going to Amsterdam, going into Cairo, and
Hmm.
then he flew out the same. We had this same flight, flying back to the States. Well, I believe y'all did because so once we got to France, I split up. I flew straight back to LA from France. And I think they flew back to Atlanta and then onward.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, and I do see bro from time to time. He'll pop up on like my timeline or something on Facebook or Instagram. So he's still out there doing his thing and seeing the world. So shout out to him.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that stuck out to me is I think the homie said like it was his first solo trip.
It might have been his first international trip.
Yeah, and we was like, bro, like you doing the damn thing because I'm like, your first trip solo international was Egypt, bro.
Right.
He's like, I always wanted to go. I'm like, man, hey, more power to you, King, because I was like, nah, I don't think Egypt will be the place that I would travel to alone, just because of some of the things that you have to get through. And so, talking about that, let's talk about when we get to Cairo and talk about even like the visa process and even getting through the airport, how that was.
They swindled me for a visa. They told me that I could pay for it before I left LA, which I did. I paid for it online, right? Held up the check-in line to pay for my visa. They gave me the website, everything. Got to Cairo. Now they're saying I got to pay with cash. So I paid for a visa twice, if we want to be honest. But visa's not expensive, it's only $25. And it gets you into the city or into the country, into Cairo, whatever I'm trying to say. Yeah, $25 gets you in. One, you might be mindful though, right? You know, like when you're landing into Cairo and a lot of Middle Eastern countries, you want to be mindful of, your camera equipment and your phone. Make sure you're not recording certain things because they will track you down.
And snatch your
Um,
shit.
and you want to make sure, especially for those who do like to bring equipment with you, that you make sure you learn what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? Because they will take those items that are not allowed into the country and hold them until you get ready to go back, right? So to save you a headache and to save you the hassle, please do your research before you go to any country to see what their laws are on what type of equipment that you can bring in, right? A lot of countries uh don't like drones. So right, so being mindful, in Egypt is one of those countries where you don't bring a drone with you to Egypt because they're not going to let you bring it in. But we made it through. It was a lot of checkpoints, if I can recall, right? I felt like we had like a lot of different checkpoints. We got off the plane, made a checkpoint. We walked, think we making some progress. Here come another checkpoint, right? And at each checkpoint, I felt like they might have been checking different things. And then that last one before we actually got to like customs was them checking our COVID paperwork, right? To see that that we tested negative, and all of that stuff, right? And then we finally get down to customs and where you can pick up your visa. Fortunately, because of the group that we did travel with, we had like a designated person who kind of led us through the line and just went right up, and we didn't have to kind of do. He was the middle person, right? And so instead of us having to interact with the person at the visa desk, he just went there. We gave him the money, and then he brought us our visa back, right? And so that was pretty much that process of getting in. I'm pretty sure it's probably a lot smoother now because they don't have to they don't require you all that paperwork to get into the country, because nobody's really having testing requirements to get into the country anymore. But during that time, during the COVID era, the height of COVID, it just took a little longer, right? And you had to be patient. And I think that goes back to what Jack was saying about being flexible, even now, because you never know what's going to happen once you land to land wherever you're going, because just because you may expect it to be a breeze, it may not, right? And so being flexible, being patient, and just understanding that there may be some things in your travel experience that you're not going to be able to control.
Definitely, and well put. And I think you have some good call outs because we got to look at understanding the dynamics of the country that you're going to, right? Understanding like some of the laws and the culture of the the country is important because a lot of things when you're traveling, especially with Egypt, is conservative compared to what we're used to in the United States. And so some of the things that we're used to doing, like I would recommend, don't be on the phone in the airport because they have
Mm-hmm.
like police and government officials in there. And if like you're doing too much recording with your phone, like they'll come up to you and be like, "Hey, let me see your phone." And if they see something there they don't like, they will delete it out your phone. And don't try
Mm-hmm.
to turn up because you don't know the language.
Listen,
They don't mind dragging you behind.
be right locked up, locked up. They won't let me out.
Look,
Listen, but yeah, you definitely gotta be careful. But even at that, especially going through like customs and stuff like that. Even here in the States, they don't allow you to record. So just be mindful of that, right?
yeah,
And
keep your like yeah, try to keep the phone usage to the minimum until you like get into the car and head to the
mm,
destination. Because unless like you're trying to like find a document or show some type of verification or proof, it's just not worth it. There's too much going on in the airport to be worried about that.
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I know we talked about the visas. You had to pay for the visa, and they actually give you a sticker that you place in your passport,
Hmm.
and that gets you out of the airport. I know we had somebody to help us, and that was super helpful. And so we were able to get through the process. We had a group with us too, so I know that's probably why it took a little longer. But it took us about an hour and a half or so, and then we made our way downstairs to get our bags, right? And I don't even want to go through this no more. I'm still traumatized. But
Right. Still got a little PTSD.
yeah, I do. Until this day, I understand the value of traveling light.
Yes.
Matthew, what happened with the bags?
Let me tell you something. Let me paint the picture. We get down to baggage claim with everybody else in our group, and we just see everybody collecting their bag. See the carousel just going round and round and round. Everybody collecting their bag and going and waiting for the group. And here we are, waiting, waiting, waiting. And I'm looking for my bag because there's something that I do very distinctive to be able to identify my bag. And y'all, our bags never made it to Cairo. But here's the kicker, right? And so we had them look into it, and they were saying that our bags were left in Amsterdam. Tell us why our bags are still in Atlanta.
Peace up, A Town.
After further discovery and looking up and researching on my own, found out, they give you them bag trackers, and I tracked my bag. That bag was still sitting in Atlanta. Granted, I don't know if they took our bags off when we almost missed our flight, but either way or not, our bags did not make it to Cairo. And so we in Cairo excited. Then we get the news that our bags are not here. Man, that's like one of the worst feelings that you could probably have traveling, right? You didn't, especially like you done packed all this stuff, and because you're thinking your bag is going to get there, you didn't put too many like of your necessities in your carry-on. And so just to hear that your bag did not make it and it did not arrive to your final destination, it's kind of like, so what I'm gonna do now, right? Like somebody gonna have to fix this. How we gonna resolve this issue? And so we had to go through all these things, talking with the airlines, talking with everybody, and the thing about it does, like with KLM, they only had a flight going into Amsterdam like every other day, right? And so
Mhm.
we landed. By the time we left on a Tuesday, we left the States on the Tuesday, we got to Cairo Wednesday night. And so that meant the next flight wouldn't realistically be there until Friday,
Mhm.
right? And so we trying to figure out what's going on, who we need to talk to in case we need to be compensated or reimbursed for the charges or the money that we spend because we have to replace certain items. So we get that, our guide, he talks to whoever he needs to talk to, and he tells us that we should have our bags by Friday.
Cap.
We should have our bags by Friday. So, we leave and then we make our way to the hotel. Mind you, Cairo's airport is very far from everywhere.
Mhm.
And so I felt like it took us like even an hour, hour and a half just to get to the airport. I mean, to the hotel.
Yeah, and
Um,
Cairo's big. The city itself
yeah,
is
Cairo
huge,
is huge.
huge.
And so you like did that, Thursday came. Luckily, I did pack, some drawers and something. I was always taught pack some drawers and some undershirts, and your toothbrush, your toothpaste, and some soap in your carry on. So, we were able to kind of, make it through when Thursday, because Thursday was like the first full day of, going out and seeing everything. Thursday came, then we went to go try to find clothes at the mall. That was a task within itself, but shout out to our Egyptian homie who made sure that we were able to get to the mall and back. But because we were out shopping, um, trying to replace items that had not yet arrived, we were not able to make it to the outing that they had planned for that night, which
Yeah,
was the boat party.
yeah.
Um,
Cruising the Nile. They had dinner. Yep.
yeah, cruise on the Nile. So we weren't able to do that. Um, but we're gonna continue to get into all the other things that we did. So Friday came, bags never got there, right? And so we trying to figure out what's going on with our bags, what's going on with our bags. They told us it'll be here Saturday. Let me tell you something. Them bags didn't get there until Sunday morning. And guess when we left to come back to the States Sunday night?
Yeah, because I think the other thing, like you was able to track the bags, and we saw they made it to Amsterdam, and then we saw them leave Amsterdam and come to Cairo. But then they were like, "Hey, the guy who delivers the lost baggage is behind, so it's going to be another day until they get your bags." So,
Yeah.
so they like everybody on the trip was super dope and kind. They like,
I'm getting mad all over again.
"Did y'all get your bags?" And we like, "Nah." And some of the homies even helped us go shopping because, as you may not know or you may know, um, Egypt they run off the European sizes.
Let me tell you something.
It was like 2, 3 X's in the whole mall.
And their three X's were not three X's.
Mm-mm.
I think I ended up buying a shirt, and that thing was probably like a 5, 6X. Um, yeah. So
We
that
had
was
to call.
another whole nother task within itself, trying to find things that actually fit, right? Especially being guys of a larger structure, a larger statue. That was another added layer of just like, dang, I ain't gonna find nothing in this mall. I'm like, I know they got some big people somewhere. Where they shop at?
Right. I was like, I'm gonna have to buy some of the traditional dress then because that might be the only thing I can get it. So,
Listen, right. The only thing, just garbed up.
excuse me. But yeah, that was an adventure within itself. But we did end up getting enough stuff to have us covered for the rest of the few days that we were going to be there, and so we did get clothes.
And
And
we were able to utilize the laundry service at the hotel. So,
yeah, that was clutch. Yeah,
that came in very clutch.
it did. It did. And I think like one of the biggest takeaways from that at the end of the day, I never travel like a huge just check bag anymore. I don't do that.
Mm-mm.
I carry a carry on and a book bag, and I'm able to get a week's worth of clothes in there. And if I need to anything beyond that, I can wash where I'm at. Right.
Yeah.
So that was my lesson from that until this day. Anytime I go on, I do not check bags. I try my hardest not to check bags anymore.
Yeah. And that was definitely a lesson because looking back on that, and even so many other times when I have gone somewhere and traveled and packed a suitcase full of stuff, realizing you don't even wear all of that stuff, right? And so it was definitely a lesson. I think it taught me, right, like, you don't need all of that stuff. You don't have to go out and break the bank and try to buy a whole bunch of new stuff. Just get you some stuff that you can mix and match. And like you said, we need to wash it. There's laundry services at hotels in the city, wherever, and just utilizing that, because, I know you may not want to wear the same thing over again, but you see these people, it ain't gonna ever see you again. And 9 times ten, the people you saw today, you're not gonna see them tomorrow or the next day. So go ahead and just bring you some outfits, bring you some shirts, some shirts that go with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 pairs of pants that you can mix and match. Bring you a shoe that go with everything.
Yep.
So that way, you're not like, well, I got this shirt, I got this pants, but these sneakers don't match. No. First of all, when you traveling like that anyway, you don't want to be all flashy and stuff like that. So leave all the fancy jewels and all that stuff at home. Just get you some black Nikes, some black Adidas, whatever, something that you can walk in, something that you can dress up, dress down, and go from there. You don't need all that stuff. So that definitely taught me that lesson. And so I haven't I haven't really packed as heavy. I don't really do that anymore.
And I think it's helpful, right? Because now you got an opportunity where you can get the hell out the airport. You
Mm-hmm.
can really get in and out the airport. You can board quicker. You can get out of there with your carry on because you don't have to wait for it, right?
Nope.
And then the other thing too is like I used to pack a lot of different shoes. I was really indecisive about what shoes I was gonna rock. Now it's like when I'm going out the country, like get some shoes that you ain't afraid to get dirty, um,
Right. And
and,
something
and
that's comfortable that you
and
can walk
comfortable.
in.
Yeah, and keep it moving because like when we were in Egypt, like it was dusty as hell. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's sand and dust everywhere. You don't want to go out there with no fresh shoes on, or maybe you got some shoes just for that trip that go with everything, and you can wear them and you ain't worried about them getting dirty.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
But yeah, we made it over there. We made it over there through the hiccups. We was flexible, couldn't turn up on the people, and I'm glad we weren't able to. I did not do that. And at the end of the day, like everything did work out. Now I know that the one night we were not able to make it to the excursion for the Nile dinner on the Nile and the cruise, just because we didn't have the dress attire. It was more so a formal event, and so
Mm-hmm.
we just didn't have it. And that's cool. But we did end up going to the first day. Where did we go, Matt?
It was the bar that was in the hotel.
Yes. So we made it to the bar that night, and then the next day, which day did we go out to the pyramids?
That was Thursday morning. That was the morning of the Nile cruise.
Got you. So that was at night, and so yeah, we got a chance to go out to see the pyramids, right? Because everybody, when you go to Egypt, right, you see all the pictures of the Sphinx, you see
Mm-hmm.
the pyramids of Giza, and all that good stuff, and you would never know that stuff is right across the street from KFC.
Listen, literally across the street from KFC.
Well, people in a chariot, boom. Next thing you look over, it's like smell chicken.
Is that the Colonel out here too?
Boy, try to see what that be like. But
Just
yeah, I
the K stand for Kentucky. That's all I.
think right. But I will say this: top five, just riding up to see those damn pyramids. And as the bus is just pulling up, and you see these pyramids just sitting, um, with the backdrop behind it of the sand and the desert. And you really, one thing that blew me away was to see how damn big the pyramids were.
Yeah, they're huge,
And I'm like, yo, like how in the
solid.
world did they build this? It was just amazing. So we pull up to Giza, right? We get our tickets to go in, which was included with what we paid to go on the trip for. And we pull up and we go in, and we have a tour guide. They split us up into teams, and it was dope. We had a great experience. And we get to go in, and we see the pyramids. Some folks decide to go inside the pyramids to go into the chambers, but once I saw that little crawlway space,
First
I
of
was
all, the crawl space is this big. One way in, one way out. First of all, who?
no sir.
Not for
And
me
it
to
was
get up
hot
there
as
and get
hell in there too.
right. Not for me to get up there and get stuck.
Yeah, you know what? Because they ain't gonna do me like Jesus, just move the rock over the tomb. Nah, I can't do that. So
Look, ain't no rock to move.
I will just be stuck.
Just be
But
stuck.
but to really be up on those pyramids and see how big they were and how well
Yeah.
constructed they were, that was just life changing to see that. And we were able to learn about the pyramids and how they were made as tombs for the afterlife, right? But even before we got into the pyramids, we were able to see the preparation tombs or the embalming tombs that they had created, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you create these embalming houses that led up to the actual pyramids themselves, and it was just mind blowing. MP, what did you think about like just visiting the pyramids of Giza? What was it like being there?
Well, So it was for me, it was like a very surreal experience, right? Being able to see with my own eyes one of the seven wonders of the world, right?
Mhm.
Just like what you said, seeing how vast it is, how tall it is, how it was constructed, being able to walk up and touch the pyramids, all of that was like such a super dope experience because you see it in the pictures, you see it on TV, you read about it in books, but it does not compare to being able to see it in person, right? um and just to be able to sit there and just literally stand before history, right? Just stand and literally look at things that were made thousands and thousands of years ago, and just to see, like, dang, I'm here. It's definitely a dope experience, and one that I will hold with me forever. And now I only got five more wonders to go see. So,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think,
I gotta go see a couple more of the world wonders too. And one of the signs I was like, as many times as I've been down to the Cancun, Quintana Roo region, I still haven't gone to the pyramids over there. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta get there. So next
yeah,
time, yeah, I gotta go see that. But as we're leaving the pyramids, we go around on our buses and we get ready to link up for the camel rides. Let's talk about these camels and
mm-mm.
that ride over to the pyramids.
I'm just saying, them camels. First of all, it wasn't my first time going camel riding. It was my first time going camel riding on my own, right? Um, those camels are tall, extremely tall,
As hell.
right? And you don't know that because when you get on them, they're laying down, they're sitting down with their arms like curled in or bent in or whatever. And then they get up and it's just like, dang, I really like you really up there. Um, it's not the most comfortable ride, especially for us guys. But it is a great experience, to say the least. To say that you've done it. The camels definitely have a mind of their own.
Mm-hmm.
I one of the camels had one of the girls on it and took off running, and all you heard was her screaming, "Died, died." So weak, and so yeah, camels definitely have their own experience, and being a large guy, I'm like, okay, how much can you support, you know, and then lo and behold, my camel just gave up in the middle of the ride. Had said, "I need to sit down and take a break." And
Time
so, if
off.
you go to my Instagram or my social medias and you see the picture in front of the pyramids with my arms stretched out and I'm sitting on the camel, it wasn't by choice. The camel just sat down on his own and said, hold up, partner." But definitely, I mean, camels, yeah, and it's not like you riding them freely. Of course, they're being guided by the people who guide them. I don't know what the proper title is. Um,
That's a good question. Yeah.
yeah. How was your experience though on the camel?
It was dope. I think it was cool. I think the thing that scared me was just the camel getting up because if you ever seen like camels get up, they get up in like a 4-step process.
Yeah.
So because they have elbows, like first like they get up on their knees and then they rock back, but then like they rock forward. And so like you halfway in the air and the camel's like at an angle and you've been looking at the ground. They're like, that's what they told us. It's like, do not look down when the camel's getting up. What I do. And
Look
I'm like,
down.
oh Lord.
Yeah, oh Lord, I'm falling forward.
So I'm like, oh, let me close my eyes back. And that was the thing that really like just like I was like, whoo. But once you got on and moving around, just seeing the camels do their thing, and also just seeing the pyramids, it was definitely top five.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the things on the bucket list.
Hmm.
And it's just something like when you see something so grand, and there's a feeling that just comes over you, it's a calmness that comes over, and you just like, I'm really here. And to have that feeling is just different. It's just I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
But we had a good time out there. After the camera ride, of course, people was asking for tips or trying to sell you stuff. And so you do want to be aware of like your surroundings. People out there trying to make a living.
Hmm.
And so tourism is a big thing. and folks really just trying to feed their kids, trying to survive. And so I understand that, but at the same time, folks and vendors can be very, very aggressive. And so if you don't learn anything else, lie means no. Lie.
Lie. Lie. No, thank you. Lie. Go on
That's your
now.
problem.
And you have to be, be very careful too, right? Because there are cameras there at the pyramids, right? And they are watching the interactions between those who are selling goods and the tourists, right? And so they have this rule that if they give you something and you take it, then you got to pay for it, right? And so even because what they'll do is they'll try to say you can have this for free, you can have this for free, you can have this for free, and then you take it and they be like, oh, this amount of dollars, right? And then you like, but if you walk off with it, it's considered you stealing, and then that's a big old thing, right? And then now the police are involved and all the things. So it got to a point where, yeah, I think somebody tried to give me something. I was like, no, don't. I don't want it. I don't want it. Kept doing it. Kept like trying to give it to me. And then I was like, okay, I don't want it. So either you take it or I'm gonna sit on the floor. So I took it back. Right, you gotta let your no be no and your yes be no, right? Because they, like Jock said, they're out there trying to make a living, and tourism is a big part of their economy and how people make a living and are able to provide for their families. And as much as we want to be able to support some of this stuff, you're not gonna want everything. That's just through nature of it, right? You're not gonna want everything everybody presents to you, and you got to be firm with your no, and keep moving. Just keep no and keep walking.
Yes. And you can also use that to your advantage as well to get the best price on things.
Yeah,
One
for
thing
sure.
we did, like if I ever go back, I will definitely buy like my souvenirs or anything that worth like getting. I will buy it in the street first before I go into a store
Mm-hmm.
because you can't tell the difference between the knockoffs and the real stuff, especially when it comes to the knicknacks.
No.
And I don't think grandma really care if it's really made out of African ivory tusk or if it's just like, hey, you went to the pyramid.
Right. All she gonna tell her friends is this. My grandson bought this for me when he was in Egypt. He bought it in Egypt. He brought it back. It
Yep.
came from Egypt. That's all they're gonna care about.
No way in Egypt. And so just know that like anything can be bargained for, the price can be bartered. And so know your price. And
Mm-hmm.
until you get that price, you can talk to other people, but just don't, like Matthew said, don't take nothing. Don't let them put nothing in your hand. Be firm in your no, but be polite. And then also, ladies, don't fall for the my Nubian queen or brown sugar. Don't fall for
Right.
them.
And don't handle your money in public.
Yes.
Anywhere you go, like, don't handle your money in public because if they see like your money, you pull out a wad of cash, you become an automatic target
Right.
for people trying to sell you stuff. People trying to try to take advantage, right? And try to, so yeah.
Definitely. And so as we moved forward, we retired that evening at the hotel bar. We had there was a lot of
Man,
tequila that was poured that night.
listen, I felt like everybody kept buying rounds of everything.
Yeah. 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 I think
It,
somebody decided to buy a round of drinks and then somebody was like, oh, I'm a match one. And then before you know it, the bar was like, we out of tequila, y'all.
right. I think every person that bought a round, he was just like, ooh, oh, but it made for a good time. We're able to really like sit down and really meet and mingle with the people that were also on the trip with us. Made some good connections, some people that we're still connected to this day. And so it was definitely a great experience. We definitely were lit. We brought our own like speaker in there and was just having a good time. People talking. Might have overdid it just a little bit, but it was definitely a good experience.
Yes, our Egyptian brothers and sisters, our cousins, they love black people. They love black culture. And a lot of the hotel staff would come up to us and be like, oh, my friend, white heart, black face. And I'm like, bro, what the hell are you talking about?
So what you just called me?
So I heard it like a couple of times. I finally the third time, I'm like, hey, like, what do you mean? And why you keep saying that? And they were saying, for them, that means that yes, like you're a black and your color. But at the end of the day, like you have a white heart that is pure.
Mm-hmm.
and that they said that they really love like black folks who come from our side of the world because of the way we treat them, right?
Right.
Even though we do have the means and resources to buy things that they're usually not able to afford, we still treat them as human beings. They love the way we interact amongst one another. And I think we brought, how many people did we bring to Egypt? Well, how many people went on the trip?
It was over 100 for sure.
Over 100 black
No,
people. Was that?
I don't know.
It was a nice amount. I know we took two tour buses every day, two
Oh
coast
yes,
buses
it
every
might
day.
have been 100. It might have been over 100. Yeah.
But we definitely shut it down like wherever we went, and people really just love they love the culture. People love gravitating towards us, and that was just a dope feeling to have that.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward to the next day, what happened?
Nothing. As we forestated, we went and uh drank until our heart's desire. And so the next day came and we ain't make it, y'all. We missed the whole day of activities because we overslept. And so we kind of just hung out around the hotel. It was too cold to get in the water, like to get in the pool, so we didn't really do that. Yeah, just kind of just hung out there. I mean, with some other people that still hung behind, so we were able to kind of chop it up with them. But also, I think we ordered like Papa John's or Domino's, something like that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
you know, got to be there. We go with more American food while on vacation. Yeah, but we made the most of it. I mean, given the circumstances, they did, I believe, had something planned that night. So, yeah, we just kind of linked up with everybody again that Friday night.
And we needed that day. Like we were extremely like just tired from traveling and being on the go
Yeah,
when we touched down. And
because
so
by the time we got to the hotel, look, so we probably landed around, I would say maybe it was close to maybe 10, 11 midnight.
yeah. Hmm.
We didn't get to the hotel until like 2. And then our first event opened. It started like we had to be on the bus like by 8:30.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it wasn't a lot of sleep. We were really just running off of adrenaline and
Right.
excitement, just to be excited just to be there. But after a while, the adrenaline wear off.
Whew.
And so yeah, it was the day we got to take and got to regroup and recover so that we can, take on the rest of the trip and all of that good stuff. So it was definitely cool.
Yeah. So I know we talked in the hotel. We was like, Matthew, you want to go up to Alexandria tomorrow? And he was like, I don't care. You want to do it? I'm like, yeah, I think I do. And so we kind of going back and forth, back and forth. Finally, was like, let's do it. It's like
Let's do it.
it's our last day here. Let's get out there. And so we ended up going out that night because they did have a private party set up for us.
Mm-hmm.
So they rented out like a whole entire like lounge. They had food, hookah, and alcohol as well. It was just our group, and it was a good time. We enjoyed that. We got back at a decent hour to the hotel,
Yeah.
and then we were like, "Hey, yeah, tomorrow we going out." So we booked our trip through Airbnb Experiences, found a dope tour guide, and so they came and picked us up from our hotel in Cairo,
Mm-hmm.
and we took a drive up to Alexandria. How
I
far
think it
was
was
it?
like 2 hours.
So yeah, it was not a bad 2 hours either. We pretty much like hit a couple roads and then we were on the highway. And next thing you know, we woke up and we in Alexandria.
Yeah. That was definitely a good experience too. What you like most about our time in Alexandria?
The difference, how Alexandria, it kind of reminds me of Texas, where it's like you be in a different city in Texas, you be like, am I still in Texas?
Right.
And that's the vibe I got. Like Alexandria was a coastal town, extremely old. So if you're familiar with Cleopatra and the ancient, saying Greek philosophy and Egyptian philosophy and how they combine, we got to see some of the old palaces. Or the architecture and infrastructure was amazing. So seeing the palace and also seeing the cathedral was some two things that stuck out to me in Alexandria.
Mm. And also, it's cool to like learn. Like the original Alexandria is somewhere up under the water. But we were there. The part that we were able to, that's still standing, all of that stuff was the part that was rebuilt. And just to see, and I think I'm appreciative of that experience because we were able to walk the streets and see what day to day life looks like in Egypt, in Alexandria, right? Like you said, it is a coastal city. It is, was that the Mediterranean Sea, I believe?
Yep.
That it is right there, and so you see the difference in how day to day life looks, right? Whereas when you go to Cairo, it's more landlocked, um, and different caliber of people too.
Hmm.
So we were able to walk through like the city, through the markets, and we got to see like how people buy their groceries and buy their produce and all those things. We are able to go and experience some of the restaurants there. We are able to see their library. It was a lot of things. It was a lot of dope things. We also visit one of the churches there, which is pretty cool. And so we were able to kind of just like really be amongst the culture there and walk amongst the people and really experience and take in, what is it like to, live. I mean, even though we were only there for a day, what it's like to, be amongst the people in Alexandria, right? And so that was a great experience and something that I will always, hold near and dear.
No, definitely. And the reason why I'm over here looking at my phone because I had to give the homie Yusef a shout out because that
Yeah.
was who our host was. He was a local. He knew everything about the city. We got to like not just go to like all the touristy areas, but we got to walk through the back alleys and the markets, like Matthew said. And I really enjoyed being able to see like the city for what it was. And it was super dope as well because Yusef had us outside looking at the different things. And one of the things, like it was like a few days before Ramadan was about to start.
Mm-hmm.
Like the city was super active, like everybody's trying to get all their goods and stuff and get prepared for Ramadan. And so like the city was very much even like I would say like very lively, even though we were in the pandemic, it was very lively that day because people trying to get prepared for Ramadan.
Well, Yusuf said that Egypt don't they didn't believe in COVID. A lot of people didn't believe in COVID. So I mean, granted, you did see people who had their mask on and stuff like that, but for the most part, you know, um, you know, they kind of continued about their everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely shout out to Yusef. That was one of the things where I was like, I'm so glad we decided to do this trip.
Yeah.
And he also took us to a pretty good restaurant and I had some good old sea bass straight from the sea,
Mhm.
and it was pretty good too. And so I think like the restaurant we went to, like some famous diplomats had eaten there previously, and then oh, dope fun fact though, crazy about it. I watched The Crown on Netflix, and one of the episodes on The Crown on the last season, they did an episode about this guy from Egypt, and the opening scene was actually the palace that we saw on the water.
Oh yeah.
And I'm watching, I'm like, bro, I've been there. I'm like, yeah, that's the palace in Egypt. And it shows like, yeah, Cairo, Egypt. I'm like, I mean, Alexandria, Egypt. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. So definitely glad we were able to go up there and kind of just make our own little way up there and do that thing.
But isn't that like a dope feeling though? Like when you're watching TV and you see like a landmark or something like that that you've actually been to in person, you're like, yo, I've been there.
Like, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yep,
like, dang, I've been there. I mean,
yep. I see the little palm tree right there. That's where, yep, that's where I was at.
mhm.
Yep.
It's definitely a good feeling.
So yeah, we did that in Alexandria, and I think after that it was pretty much time. After we ate, it was time to get ready to head back on down to Cairo, and which was perfect time because I know Yusuf was saying, "Hey, like you guys probably want to get on the road before traffic gets crazy."
Yeah.
And for me, I don't want to be at the road at
First of all,
nighttime.
they drive crazy, so
Yeah. So we was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get on back. And so we got back to the hotel. And I'm not sure what we did that evening.
um, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I think we ended up eating. I'm not sure where we ended up going to eat. I wonder if we stayed at the hotel that night and ordered room service, but I can't remember, And but it was a good cap to the trip because I know the next day was Sunday and we were leaving out that evening. I think we had like a 10 o'clock p.m. flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hotel staff was really cool. They let us check out a little later, and then we also were able to put our bags there. But before we left, we made sure we stopped by the gift shop
Yeah.
on the hotel on the resort property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell about the gift shop.
Man, the gift shop was cool. The person working the shop, she was what made the whole experience uh enjoyable, right? She connected probably with every person who was on that trip in some way, whether it was giving them coffee, letting them try the dates, um letting them just sit and talk, and she would just talk and tell us about what it's like to live in Egypt, and how she came to work at the store, that the gift shop, and learning about each and every one of us who came into the store. So she was definitely a very sweet lady, and she, because she was so nice, she got a lot of business from a lot of us. But they had a lot of good you know gifts that you can purchase and bring back with you. So I know I racked up on a lot of souvenirs to bring back for some of my people. So it was definitely a great experience, and yeah, it pays to be nice. She was nice, and I'm pretty sure she ate good for a couple of months
Yeah,
because of her being so nice.
definitely. I think that those are the things I always remember is how people treated me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you always remember folks. And I even like I'm really big on referring people. So like if I ever got homies just reaching out to me like, hey, I'm going here. I know you've been there. I always like end up meeting people or knowing people, and I always try to recommend them because I know they took care of me, so I know they're gonna take care of my people.
For sure.
And that's super important to me. So glad that I was able to make those connections. But I did want to leave the folks with some final thoughts, some do's and don'ts before we get out of here. Just to because Egypt is an amazing place, but you want to make sure that you are able to navigate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that we did see was that one day we were out at one of the markets, and no, we were in Alexandria at one of the markets, and the young lady comes up to me and was like, "Where are you guys from?" And I'm like, "From the United States." She's like, "You're from America?" No, she asked our tour guide where we were from,
She wouldn't stay by me. It was Jack. He was the celebrity.
but they were speaking in Arabic, so we didn't know what they were saying. And then he turns around, it's like, "Yeah, like y'all are Americans." And oh my god! So like the little group, it's like four of them, and he's like, "Oh my god, can we take a picture?" We're like, photo, and we're like, "All right, cool." So we all get lined up. We about to take a picture. Me, I'm a big guy, so what I do, I always put my arms around folks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're like,
No.
"No." And I'm like, "Do I stink? Hold on, I know it's hot out here. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been sweating a little bit." Like, no, no, no. She's not. You cannot put your arm around a woman that is it single?
Maybe I don't know. I don't remember.
But it was something to do with her martial status. They was just like, yeah, like men are not allowed to embrace women that, or I think are single or something like that because
Mm-hmm.
it can mess them up. And so I was like, oh my bad. So I just apologized, took a picture, and kept it moving.
Right.
But those are some of the things about just being culturally aware. It is a Muslim country, and we understand that they have some different beliefs than we do, being in America, and so nothing was wrong with that. But just being cognizant of what you're going into, and always just be willing
Mm-hmm.
to like correct yourself when you do make a mistake.
For sure.
So yeah, that's one of the things that kind of stuck out to me. But I know we talked about, um, we did talk about the bag situation. We also talked about the bargaining. But MP, can you talk a little bit about like cameras and like WhatsApp in Egypt?
Yeah. So cameras, I kind of talked about it earlier. You want to make sure that whatever camera equipment that you're bringing in is permissible into the country, right? And so I know their biggest thing in Egypt is drones. So if you have a drone, don't bring it with you to Egypt, because it will not get into the city. They'll take it, and they'll keep it until you depart, right? And so that's a whole nother uh another avenue and more paperwork that you have to fill out. So just to kind of save yourself time and stress, don't bring it. But I took my camera. I have a Sony, mirrorless camera. So those type of cameras are cool. Um,
Yeah,
but you
that's
also want to
what
be
we put.
mindful of what areas that like what you are recording. That's the biggest part, right? What are you recording? The police there don't like to be on camera, so don't go and just hold your phone in their face, right? or because you'll be walking the street and you see groups of them because they're patrolling and stuff like that. Just find something else to focus on, right? So that way you can just kind of save yourself some time and trouble. So that way they're not hassling because they're gonna come and ask, "What are you recording? Let me see it," uh, and they're not gonna move until you delete it, right? And so be mindful of that. Camera equipment, WhatsApp. Did I use WhatsApp while we were in?
Let's back up one moment because I think something happened when we were at the mall when we had the camera.
Oh, I had a camera in my bag. Yep.
Okay, what happened?
I couldn't take it in, and so I had to give it back to the person who dropped us off at the mall. Right? They wouldn't let me. They wouldn't even let me into the mall, with my camera, and my camera was in my book bag. Right? And so I had to give the driver, like the person that drove us, my bag until so that I could go in, and then he met us back because he had to drive us back to the hotel. And so yeah, being mindful of what spaces and what places that you can bring cameras into as well. Which, yeah. So yeah, especially like big cameras like that. So your phone is a little different, but you still want to be mindful of what you're recording, what you're capturing, and to kind of make sure that you're not putting yourself in a spot where they had to come and ask you about what you're recording and to see it, and not letting you go until you delete certain footage. So yeah, being very mindful of that. WhatsApp, uh I can't remember. We did use WhatsApp, right?
Yeah, we ended up using it, but I think at the airport, like WhatsApp's illegal, and so if
uh,
you got WhatsApp on your phone, just be discreet about it because folks still use it, but the police do not like WhatsApp.
oh yeah.
And WhatsApp is encrypted, so WhatsApp is like one of the few communication tools that people use. That's why it's so popular. Is that it's encrypted on both ends. So if somebody like
Mhm.
intercepts, try to go into your messages, they can't get in it from either side.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, and WhatsApp is a great tool to use, because you're able to communicate with, like, when we book excursions and things like that. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be contacting a WhatsApp number, right? Or if you're like me, I just purchased a SIM card, right? Like with like a plan for so many days, that I could put in my phone while I'm in. The country, and so that
Mhm.
worked as well. And so that way we were able to also communicate with WhatsApp and with the actual Egyptian phone number, because that helped out, especially when it came to um, like we said, ordered pizza. We had booked the Uber, and stuff like that. So, and that's something that I typically do is try to, if I can, purchase a SIM card while I'm there because I ain't fooling with Verizon. And I come back to the States and they have my bill being $700, and so I just pay $50 for unlimited plan. That'll last me for the duration of whatever time that I'm there in whatever country. So that's definitely a great resource to keep and to have.
Definitely. And then with the when we were there, the shisha lounges, or what we like to call it hookah, were not open.
Mm-mm.
But the thing to note is that most shisha lounges do not sell alcohol. Alcohol is not sold in a wide variety. And so public intoxication is not what you want to be doing. So if you are drinking, make sure it's like you're either, saying somewhere like in a hotel, you
Mm-hmm.
have your drinks before you go out or things like that. And don't be disorderly when you go out because people don't, public intoxication is not one of those things. It's just a norm
Right.
in Egyptian culture.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, but all in all, I think this trip, not only because it was Egypt, but at the end of the day, I think we learned so much as travelers, as
Mm-hmm.
being as citizens of the world, right? We were able to travel, go to a new place, see one of the seven wonders of the world, right? And
Yeah.
still learn so much while we were there. And so I think that was, excuse me, my biggest takeaway from this trip. And I'm glad that we did take that chance and go, despite all that was going on in the world, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, MP, what are your final thoughts you like to get to the people about just going to Egypt and taking that trip?
I think that Egypt was definitely a great experience. The only thing that I would change is that we would go and stay longer. So whenever I do make it back to Egypt, I want to plan to stay maybe at least for like 9, 10 days. So that way I can get to see a little bit more, right? Go down to Luxor and see all the things there, and do the Nile cruise, all that. So because I feel like there was so much that we did not see.
Yeah.
We maximized our time, but there was still so much that we didn't see. And so I think that would be one of the things that I would, encourage our listeners. If you are planning to go to Europe, you want to make sure that you go for, at least 6, 7, 8, 9 days, so that you really can hop throughout the country and see different things and see different sites, right? Because Cairo's cool, but that's only one part of Egypt,
Mhm.
right? Egypt has so much history spread throughout the whole country. So yeah. But overall, it was definitely a good trip. I enjoyed myself. Able to, like I said earlier, knock off seeing another wonder of the world. So now I have the Great Wall of China and I have the pyramids at Giza. So now we got to work on hitting some more. So definitely a great experience. So, Jock, what were your your takeaways for the Egypt trip? Pros, cons. What would you do different? What would you do the same? All of that.
Yeah, I think there's power in group travel,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we do it. We just do it different. The culture is different.
Yeah.
Black culture is one of the most infamous cultures in the world, and everybody's trying to mimic it, right? And so when people get to like
Mm-hmm.
see us, they do treat us like celebrities because they're like, oh my god, like I've seen black people on TV. This might be my first time interacting with somebody in person, and so that's always amazing. I don't take that lightly, and then also too, pack light,
Pack light.
pack light.
It'll save your life.
Because I was hurting, y'all.
It said,
I was
talk
hurt.
about talk about mad. We was big mad.
Bro, and it was cold too. Like,
Yeah, it was cold because
so
we went in like April, so you know it was a little chilly.
yeah, the desert get cold at night. And
Mm-hmm.
when that sun drops, the temperature changes. So that's what I learned. But overall, a great trip. I enjoyed myself and definitely got to run it back.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely got to run that back. When I'm not too sure, but maybe it could be a good idea. Our line turns 10 in 2024, so maybe we can get the brothers together and make it happen. But we'll see.
We shall see. We got to see the wonders of the world. And so
Gotta see it.
as we get ready to close, I just want to say shout out to my dope co-host, the good brother Matthew, and you know, Travel Hour family. We just want to let y'all know that y'all can follow us on all social media platforms at the THEE
Yeah.
Travel Hour. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, and follow us to stay in touch and stay in tune with what we got coming up. MP, where can the people find you?
Yeah, y'all can find me, follow me on Instagram, pretty much all socials at according to TOMP. And you can find me there, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the things. If you want to see a little snippet from our Egypt trip, you hit me up on YouTube. You'll see it there.
Definitely check that out. Definitely check that out. If you need to find me, you can find me on the ground at the THE_Zigster, ZIGGSTER.
Yes, sir.
But that's all we got today, Travel Hour family. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Until next time, we signing off.
We signing off. We out.
Peace.